without any further ado, Jessica Vaughn. Thank you.
Thank you all. I hope you all don't mind. Yesterday I sprained my ankle, so I'm gonna sit if you can still see me. Tell me if you can't see me. But I'll be able to walk home if I don't stand. So great. All right. Different topic, the immigration issue, but you may hear some common themes from our previous speaker, who did an excellent job, I think, of reminding us of what we all need to do as citizens to take control of what's happening to our country on so many different issues. We often hear one of the most overused expressions on the immigration issue is that our immigration system is broken. This is something that you hear repeatedly, usually from people who think that we need to admit more people to our country, that our system isn't working to get people in quickly enough or allowing enough people to stay. I disagree. Every year we take in 1 million legal immigrants, and there are about 4 million others who qualify to be sponsored by someone already here who's a family member or an American business. 1 million people a year, that's a lot. We also take in 600,000 guest workers every year. We have 1 million foreign students here. In Boston is one of the most popular places for that. We admit millions and millions of people to come as tourists or business visitors every year. Those aren't the hallmarks of a broken immigration system. What's broken now, all the time, are the rules of our immigration system. And they're broken by people who come here and overstay visas. They're broken by people who cross the border illegally, and they're broken by our president, who has, because Congress won't pass the immigration system that he wants, he decided to try to implement it on his own, and announced last November that he would give work permits and benefits to 5 or 6 million people who had broken the rules to get here. At the same time, last year, we saw 130,000 unaccompanied kids and families stream across the southern border, almost none of whom have been sent home. Many of them have been resettled here in eastern Massachusetts. We were told at the end of last year that the surge is over. It's not over. We now know through documents that have been released by the federal government that just last month there were 3,000 unaccompanied juveniles who were taken in and resettled around the country, and an equal number of people who came as family members. So we've already had in the last 6 months almost 30,000 new illegal aliens just from Central America. And we'll get more than that in the coming 6 months. So the only thing that's broken about our system now is the rules. Citizens of the Commonwealth have seen the impact of this chronic immigration chaos. We taxpayers spend nearly $2 billion a year in services to illegal aliens and people in their households. Employers get away with bypassing legal workers all the time, meaning tens of thousands of jobs literally are off limits to citizens and legal immigrants. Heroin dealers from other countries operate with impunity in some of our towns because they can hide themselves in plain sight from local law enforcement by getting a driver's license from our registry of motor vehicles. Certain school systems, which are already challenged for a variety of reasons, Common Core being one of them, but they have also been forced to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, in one case the city of Lynn, millions of dollars a year to accommodate the hundreds of new arrivals from Central America. It feels like we have no say in this. How did we get here? I think it's partly because as Americans, we're welcoming people and we're proud of the fact that so many people want to come here and live and benefit from the freedom that we enjoy. But it's also because of a convergence of special interests who benefit from mass immigration and have succeeded in controlling not only the policy, but the debate up to this point. But I think we're getting to a tipping point because of the president's huge overreach last November when he abandoned the Constitution and tried to implement a massive amnesty and benefits granting program that has been stopped because finally elected lawmakers of 26 states around the country took him to court and have so far won that battle. I want to read to you a section of a very important op-ed that was written by one of the true leaders in the immigration and the national interest movement, Senator Jeff Sessions from Alabama. And I thought it was right on point. He wrote this week in the Washington Post, "It's not mainstream, but extreme to continue surging immigration beyond any historical precedent, and to do so at a time when almost 1 in 4 Americans aged 25 to 54 does not have a job. What we need now is immigration moderation, slowing the pace of new arrivals so that wages can rise, welfare rolls can shrink, and the forces of assimilation can knit us all more closely together. But high immigration rates help the financial elites and the political elites. That is why they have tried to enforce silence in the face of public desire for immigration reductions. They have sought to intimidate good and decent Americans into avoiding honest discussion of how uncontrolled immigration impacts their lives." And this was the end of Senator Sessions' editorial. But that dam is breaking. The elite consensus is crumbling, and the enforced silence on this critical issue will end. And I agree with him. I think we've hit a tipping point. Last week there was a poll released by Rasmussen, one of the leading polling organizations, that found that 62% of voters in America think that we don't do a good enough job of enforcing our immigration laws, and only 16% think that we are overzealous in enforcing immigration laws. Elites are starting to hear this roar, and it's people like you who are here, who by being here today have shown that you're not going to just sit and watch this happen to our country. You're going to take action. And thank you all for being here. Congressional leaders have heard this message. They haven't acted on it yet, but a majority of the majority in the House of Representatives right now is agitating and pushing for Congress to do something. It remains to be seen if the majority of the majority that's pushing for the restoration of the rules will succeed. And I don't have a lot of faith in the leadership in Congress right now, but I think that they can be pushed to do something. They need to hear from voters who express support for restoring the rule of law in the immigration arena. But there are steps that can be taken here, too, right here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. According to a Border Patrol intelligence report that I was able to read last year, Massachusetts is one of the top destinations mentioned by illegal immigrants who've arrived from Central America. That's what they're telling the Border Patrol, that Massachusetts is in one of the top 12 places that they want to go. They're coming here. There's something we can do about that. But what we're getting right now, what we're still seeing, is inaction from the corner office. But there's plenty of action from people who advocate for the interests of illegal aliens. So far this year, there have been about more than a dozen bills introduced that would expand the incentives for people to live here illegally. Once again, we see the bill that would open up driver's licenses to illegal aliens, that would obstruct law enforcement agencies from working with immigration enforcement, and provide even more benefits than people already are able to access here. Last year at this time, a coalition of committed citizens from all over this Commonwealth worked together to block every single one of those attempts in the legislature from becoming law. Every single one of them, and many of you are here today who participated in that. We can do it again. We need to do it again. So it's time to get organized again. Not only to focus on the legislature, but more importantly, on the person who's sitting in the corner office on Beacon Hill. who was elected because people wanted to see change. And this is one of the policy areas that desperately needs some change. To protect our communities, we need to demand that the governor do something about this issue, and he has a lot of authority and ability to change the incentives that are motivating people to come and settle here illegally. He can do something about the jobs magnet. He can do something about the issuance of benefits and services that people are not entitled to, that cost us all money. He can do something about the law enforcement agencies that have not been allowed to cooperate in deporting those illegal aliens who commit crimes. And he can do something about the pipeline of resettling people who've crossed our southern border from Central America, who've been resettled in our communities without those communities have any say whatsoever. We can change that. But right now, Massachusetts has not even joined the 26 states that sued the president over his unconstitutional executive action. Our Attorney General, Maura Healey, in fact, has spoken for the Commonwealth and put Massachusetts down as one of the states that supports the president's executive amnesty. And all we hear is silence from the governor. He's not said a thing. We need to change that. It's time to speak out and say, not on our watch. And all of you can do something about it by speaking up as individuals, by working through the groups that you belong to, that you're active with, by educating yourself and your neighbors and others that you come into contact with about the impact of this issue on our future. And I hope you will. And again, I'm encouraged because you're all here today, and I've seen what we can do in this state to keep it from becoming even more of a haven for law-breaking and for illegal settlement than it has been up to now. But it's time to tip that balance the other way and do something about it. We can't sit back and watch another influx of people coming here because they've been told by the White House that they'll be allowed to stay. That's not our democratic process. That's not how our country works. But unless we act, it's going to continue. So thank you all again for being here today. I hope you'll work on this and other issues as you have in the past. And most of all, enjoy the fact that spring seems to finally be here.